Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most fascinating and honestly kind of mind-bending paradoxes in spirituality, the relationship between the creator and the creation. It's a real puzzle that seems impossible at first glance, so let's just jump right in. So, the Bhagavad Gita throws this incredible puzzle right at us. Lord Krishna says, "All beings are in me." Okay, got it. But then he follows up with, "But I am not in them." And just when you think you've got your head wrapped around that, he says, "In fact, the beings are not in me." Wait, what? How can both of those things possibly be true at the same time? And there it is, the divine contradiction we're here to unpack. I mean, on the surface, it makes absolutely no logical sense, right? But what if it's not a contradiction at all? What if it's actually an invitation to look at reality itself in a completely new and way more profound way? Let's just state the problem as clearly as we can. How can everything be inside God and yet at the very same time not be inside God? You can see right away that our normal everyday logic just isn't going to cut it here. We need a new way of thinking, a better analogy that can hold both sides of this paradox without completely falling apart. You know, the key to unlocking this whole thing isn't an analogy like a baker and some bread, where the creation is totally separate from its creator. No, there's a much, much more powerful metaphor for this, and that is the clay and the pot. This simple idea is where everything is going to start making a whole lot of sense. So first, let's get our terms straight. When we talk about creation, we're talking about everything we see and experience, this whole universe of names and forms. But here's the absolute key idea. This creation, this universe, it has no independent reality of its own. It's just an appearance on top of a single formless substance. And in this way of thinking, that ultimate substance is called Brahman, the one reality that underlies everything. Okay, this is exactly where that clay and pot analogy becomes so incredibly useful. It lets us break down this super complex divine relationship into three simple, totally logical statements, all from the perspective of the clay. This is how we're gonna solve the puzzle. Okay, so how does this actually work? Let's just walk through the logic from the clay's point of view. Statement one, the clay can say all pots are with me. Why? Well, because without clay, no pot can even exist. The pot is 100% dependent on the clay. Easy enough. Statement two, the clay can also say, I am not with the pots. This makes sense too, because the clay's existence doesn't depend on any single pot. You can smash the pot, and guess what? The clay is still there. Now for the third and most mind-bending statement, the clay can say, pots are not with me. Just think about that for a second. From the clay's absolute perspective, there's no such thing as a pot. There's only clay, which is just temporarily taking on the name pot and the form of a pot. The pot itself has no separate independent reality. It's just clay. So what the clay and pot analogy is really showing us is that not everything we perceive is equally real. It's revealing that there are different orders or different levels of reality. And that means not everything we experience has the same kind of true, unchanging existence. Let's break this down into three categories. First, you've got what's truly real. The stuff that is eternal, that never changes. That's God, or Brahman, the substance itself. Then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got what's false. This is something that never exists and you could never experience, like a rabbit's horn. But in the middle, that's where it gets interesting. In the middle, you have illusion. And this is the entire universe. Now, it's not false. I mean, we are clearly experiencing it. But it's not truly real because if you look closer, it's just names and forms appearing on that underlying reality. It's kind of like a dream. It feels completely real while you're in it, but then you wake up. The Gita actually gives us another powerful analogy to help us get this, the relationship between the wind and the space that it moves through. And this verse, it reveals three really essential qualities about the nature of the creator. So this analogy shows us, first, that God is unattached. Just think about it. Space contains the wind, sure, but space also exists far beyond where the wind is blowing. In the same way, God contains the universe, but isn't limited by it. Second, God is unaffected. Polluted air doesn't actually damage the space it's in, right? Well, likewise, all the chaos and turmoil of the world doesn't stain or taint God. And third, God is unchanging. The wind is constantly moving, it's always in motion, but the space itself, it stays perfectly still. So just like that, the universe is in constant flux, but the reality it exists in is forever absolutely constant. Okay, so
After all that deep philosophical stuff, you might be wondering, why does any of this matter in my daily life? What's the practical takeaway here? Well, here's the real payoff. Understanding all of this doesn't make the world suddenly disappear. It's all going to look just like it did before. The difference isn't out there, it's in here, in our perception. It's like seeing a mirage in the desert. Once you know it's a mirage, you still see the shimmering water, but you don't waste your energy running towards it, hoping to quench your thirst. In the same way, when we understand the world is more like an illusion, we stop desperately trying to find ultimate, lasting peace and security within its constantly changing forms. And so, this leaves us with what might be the most important question of all. If the world we experience is like a mirage, beautiful for sure, but ultimately a temporary appearance, then where do you turn? Where do you search for what is truly and lastingly real?